What's up, guys? We're back with another wave of Super 7 Ultimates figures, and it's definitely one of the big ones. It is yet another Turtles wave. We're jumping into wave 3, and of course, as usual, I have to start with the turtle because it's Turtles. So today we're taking a look at Ultimates Michelangelo. Of course, this guy comes in the large trapezoidal style package that we're used to seeing with the line, and then one of the hallmarks of these is of course the slipcover. So you've got the sort of ooze slipcover with the Mikey manhole cover on the front, and then on the back you've got the Turtles logo emblazoned on it, of course, slipcover. So pop it off and you've got the figure there in all of his glory with a million and one accessories in that big monster window. You've got the sort of brick background and the graffiti that's all over it, and then the back of the box has got a bio for our wild and crazy turtle. So as usual, amazing presentation. You can take them out, put them back in, leave them in. It's going to look fantastic as well. But of course, we're here to put it through his paces. So let's do it. Let's pull them out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Ultimates Michelangelo. It has been a little bit since we've done one of these because, well, we all know there are delays with Ultimates just in general to a degree, but it seems like that's starting to be done, and that we are going to get a lot of Ultimates figures in a relatively short span of time. I think I did the last wave in February, and before that it was almost a year since wave 1. So this has definitely been a long time coming, and I'm just really happy to finally get more of these guys, to get another very nostalgic set of figures for me. So let's jump right into it, see what Mikey can do, see how he moves around. If you've got any of the other Turtles, if you've got Raph, if you've got Leo, you know what's going on here. Same exact situation, but we'll run through it for the uninitiated and maybe if anyone needs a refresher out there. So we've got a head that can look up really good. They don't really look down too much. It's slight. They can, like, this is neutral basically, and then they do that. Not much. You've got a little bit of tilt side to side, and then there is rotation. You've got arms that go out that far. They, of course, rotate all the way around. You've got your bicep swivel. Single jointed elbow gives you about 90 degrees, and then this does swivel in there as well. We've got vertical hinged hands on him in the box with rotation, of course. There are other sets of hands, and we'll talk about those as far as how they move when we get to them. You've got the sort of torso waist situation that we've seen across the board so far with the Turtles. So something that hasn't really been a thing for modern Turtles well, until now, very, very recently with Super 7, and then NECA's now doing it a little bit more as well, where we have a lot more room to play at the hip area. So they can sort of shimmy side to side. They do shimmy forward and backwards a little bit, but being able to twist side to side and sort of rotate is a little bit better. It helps with running poses, with walking poses, stuff like that. You've got legs that kick all the way out. They kick forward more than 90 degrees. You've got some back kick as well. Even though the shell is in the way, it's not too in the way. We've got a thigh twist up there, so at the ball, and then you've got the twist there. We've got our single jointed rotating knee, and then down at those ankles, you've got really, really good hinge and rocker that, I mean, like, look at that. That's unnaturally good, like a broken ankle, basically. So he moves as well as any other Turtle you've got so far in the Ultimates line. Easy to pose, and I really have no issues with him. The one thing that I would like to call out is that I know a lot of folks mention loose hips and like thigh areas on Raph and Leo. I do not really have that. Like, they're not moving really, and they do stay a lot better. I didn't really have much issue with mine to begin with, but I know some folks mentioned it. I feel like, if anything, he does seem a little bit sturdier right out of the box than Leo and Raph did. Not in a way that it's going to break or anything like that, just that he feels like he's going to plant himself down and be just fine right away. Of course, aesthetics in this line is ultimately, no pun intended, where I really, really find myself just being overly interested in everything that Super 7 is doing, because Turtles is a huge thing for me. The Turtles figure line is likely the all-time greatest toy line for me, and that's a big statement to say because I like a lot of properties, obviously. I love He-Man, I love Thundercats, but when it came to me as a kid, Turtles was the line that I was the right age for at the right time to actually collect them and just, play with them. He-Man and Thundercats were a little bit early for me, He-Man specifically, and I was really young when Thundercats was out. But when Turtles came out, I was the age. I was the target demographic, really. And I mean, I gobbled these things up, and this is exactly the thing that I want to see. This is the figure that I thought I had as a kid. More robust, bigger, more details, able to move better, all of that stuff. And I think Super 7 does just like a bang up job trying to recreate that. Mikey in particular has one aspect of him that I absolutely love here, and that is the different colors that the turtles have when it comes to their skin tone. So Raph is a little lighter, Leo is a little more muted, but Mikey is this super saturated, like foresty green, and he's got a lot of highlights all over him as well. So there's like a hit of sort of like a black spray or wash on the shoulders, on the musculature on the arms, and then he's got some on the thighs as well, and he's got even a little bit down on his feet just to bring out the musculature, and it helps to make things pop a little bit more. Surprisingly, that hit of black changes this figure up quite a bit for me, and I think it looks tremendous. The sort of undershell, the stomach area, does have a little bit of kind of an orange hit to it to pop against the yellow. You've got what I imagine might be a corrected belt situation on Mikey, because as we saw, Raph had the black belt, Leo had silver for some reason, which I believe was an issue, an error of some kind, and Mikey is back to black. So you do have his unique M belt, no silver on it, and then on the back you've got the incredibly detailed shell with all of that, you know, sort of patterning and design in there that you see on an actual turtle shell. He's got some cuts in there as well, and then he does have slots for his nunchucks, and we do have nunchucks that will actually fit in there very easily too. So it's visually appealing and it's practical. He is, of course, very unique in other ways because, of course, he does have his orange coloration. So you've got a very on-brand turtle for me, I suppose. You've got the orange pads on the elbows and the knees, and then you've got him at the wrists. And then, of course, he does have a very unique head sculpt, because that's one of the things that differentiated the turtles in the Playmates line as well, is they all had their own unique heads. So Mikey has got the sort of gritting of the teeth on his right, your left, and then he's got a closed left, your right. The bandana looks really good, clean and crisp, no pupils on the eyes, which I always love when it comes to turtles. He's got, you know, kind of a rubbery bandana piece back here. It's not pliable or movable or anything like that, but it is a little bit rubbery. And I love his expression. It's just one of those things that kind of sticks with me over the years of being a turtle fan, is I know which one is which, and this is a very quintessential toy Mikey look. And I think Super 7 did a really, really solid job of recreating this guy from head to toe. And then speaking of different turtle colors, here are the 3 Ultimates turtles that we already have available. So we've got Leo over here on the left with his sort of, I don't know, muted green color. It's a very real world color to me. And then we've got a, if that makes any sense, we've got Raph over here with his sort of bright limey green color. It's not super lime green, like it's not, you know, neon green or anything like that, but it's a little bit brighter. And then Mikey here in the middle with his very foresty green. And you can see there is a lot that's similar about these guys, but they all have unique aspects to them, from bandana colors to pad colors to their harnesses and belts, and then of course to their colors and their head sculpts. It's a very, very vintage aesthetic, which I absolutely love. Again, it's a very nostalgic trip for me. So I'm really happy to finally add another brother to the ranks, and we'll get Donnie with his muddy brown green color soon enough. And then as far as size comparisons, let's start with Ultimate stuff. So we've got a big example here for Ultimates. You've got Bebop, arguably the biggest, you know, we'll tie him with Rocksteady basically. Biggest figure in the line so far. And then we've got Toxie, so a normal Ultimate style figure, but of course not a Turtles figure. And you can see that Mikey is scaled pretty well here. Bebop, of course, they took some liberties by making him this large, because of course his vintage figure was not big, but you can see that he scales really nicely with other figures, because the Turtles, in comparison to what would be a quote-unquote normal figure with Toxie, they should be shorter, and I think that comes through really nicely here. And then as far as some other stuff, let's sort of move these guys out of the way. We'll put a Classified Series G.I. Joe figure here. So you've got Snake Eyes. Let's pull the Pigman away. And let's go something smaller than Mikey. Here is a Plunderling, to give you an idea of what he looks like with them. You can see that, you know, he's about the same height as Snake Eyes, but they don't really scale that well. The overall build and mass of the figures is kind of off and weird. And then let's do a Figuarts. So there's Goku, to give you an idea of what he looks like with with a Tamashii Nation style figure. And then for another, let's do a 7-inch figure that isn't exactly Super 7, but has some Super 7 history in some ways, if that makes sense. So here is the new Masterverse Skeletor from Mattel. And you can see that Mikey scales pretty well with him. He should be a little bit shorter than Skeletor because they are basically in the same scale. And I think they look good next to each other, but you know, this probably doesn't work really, but you can get an idea of what Mikey looks like next to 6-inch, you know, more 1/12 kind of stuff, and then of course your 7-inch style lines. And then as far as comparing Mikey to other Mikeys, this is a selection. It's certainly not all of them, and it's not even all that I have, but here is a pretty good cross-section of Michelangelos from this era, this time period of Turtles. So we've got the NECA Mirage, we've got the NECA Toon Mikey. This is the first one from the SDCC set, so the first. The SH Figuarts. We've got the Super 7 in the middle. You've got his Playmate counterpart. We've got the NECA movie, 1990 movie, and the most recent Mikey from the NECA in Disguise set. So you get an idea of what these guys look like together. A cross-section, again, of various Michelangeli from all of the same kind of era. This is all very much the original Turtles era of figures, basically, that have been made since, what, the last 13 or 14 years or so. Now, as far as accessories goes, Mikey is basically as stacked as any other figure goes. I do think there might have been a little change up with some accessories here because I want to say there's something that wasn't advertised and there's something that was on the promo images that maybe isn't here. So let's get started, see what he's got. We've got, of course, the very Super 7-ized head sculpt for the alt head. So the whole deal with this line is that you get the Playmates head, but then they're giving us another head to just give another interpretation of the character and another expression. So Leo and Raph have kind of like battle head sculpts almost. Mikey is kind of different. He looks almost manic to me and kind of crazed. It's definitely a fighting expression that you can use for sure, but it's also one that's going to work with him just being weird and maybe with some food items, stuff like that. So this head sculpt has kind of grown on me. I don't know if I like it as much as I like the Leo and alt heads, but it's still a pretty solid entry, and it's just very different from the other two. He does include a food item. He gets the pizza box. So Leo and Raph came with a piece of pizza, and this is the thing that I'm talking about when I think something might have been swapped out. So the promo shots show that he also came with a singular piece of pizza and this box, but he just has the box. So you've got a piece of pepperoni pizza in there with a pepperoni in there, and there's some cheese like stuck to the lid, which I do like. It's just a generic box, but I like getting this kind of stuff with a turtle. So I do think that something might have been swapped out, and what my assumption is that the single piece of pizza was kind of foregone to give us these, because the original promos did not have real metal chain nunchucks. He just had rubbery ones and the ones that come on the sprue. So we've got a set of these. You got two of them, obviously, and these are the ones that I mentioned would go into the back. It's kind of a snug fit. Not in a negative way, like it's in there and they're not going to come out, but they'll come out when you pull them out. These look really good. I like the sculpt paint on them. You've got the kind of gold metallic hits, and then the chain is nicely sized, so they're not too big, not too small. He does come with a set of rubbery ones too, so this is more in line with what you would expect to get as a vintage figure, but fully painted. They are rubbery. They're kind of rigid rubbery, but I haven't really noticed an issue with them. They do kind of hold their shape for a while too, so if you kind of bend them, you can get it to look like he's sort of flailing that around, which I do like quite a bit. We get a lot of like the normal stuff what you get with the turtle. You know, you get like the pizza weapon, basically, whatever this thing is called. You get whatever this guy is called, whatever this guy is called. I don't know what any of this stuff is. You'd think I would have looked it up after all these years. And then we get two Ninja Stars as well. So you get two of these, which is pretty much kind of the hallmark for these lines with these figures, because we get all of that stuff across the board. And then he also comes with his grappling hook, because at one point down the road, Michelangelo became a grappling hook turtle and not really a nunchuck turtle. These do not move. It's just a static piece, so they're kind of flimsy. And you've got the full painted shell, and it does have a string on it, so you can kind of wrap it around him and then make it look like he's using a grappling hook. So I do like that, because it's very much a thing that happened to Mikey down the road. And then he also comes with a subset of hands as well. So we get the vertically hinged gripping hands on him in the box, and then you get 3 extra sets. So one set is a lateral hinge set of gripping hands. one set, and all of these hands have the lateral hinges on them actually. You get style pose hands, and then you get a set of fists, which I do like to see with turtles. I still wish we would have gotten them with Raph somehow. But that is the normal set of accessories for Mikey. And then, of course, in typical Playmates homage fashion, you get the weapons rack sprue system. So all of the weapons that I talked about are on here. Nunchucks, all of the other stuff, and then the Ninja Stars. And one thing I don't know if I've ever mentioned before, or if a lot of folks are truly aware of, this thing is literally meant to be a weapons rack. So in the vintage line, when you cut them off, if you cut them off correctly, you could lay them across these pegs and peg the Ninja Stars into these pegs at the top. And it actually does have feet to stand up. So the vintage line did that, and the Playmates and the Super 7 line is doing that as well, paying tribute to it being both, you know, a kind of classic throwback, but a very functional thing too, if you want to pull those weapons off. So yeah, this is another solid figure. If, like me, you're a big fan of the Playmates aesthetic, and if you like Leo and Raph already, you're already in the game here. You know exactly what to expect. This is more of that same stuff, and I'm really happy with the way this guy turned out. Mikey looks fantastic. I dig his sculpt. I dig the colors. Again, the colors really pop on this figure in particular. I think they did a great job with that skin tone. He's got a great deal of accessories. I'm digging the metal chains on the nunchucks. It's kind of like a thing that we should expect to have with Michelangelo at this point. Like, if he didn't have it, I think I'd be a little upset, and I'm really glad that they made their way into this particular pack, because it's a very dynamic looking piece. It just makes it look a little bit more premium as well. But this is exactly the figure that I wanted to get. I think he looks amazing. The alternate head sculpt has really grown on me. He looks absolutely crazed, which I'm very happy with. I think it works really well for Mikey. And again, just another solid entry in the line, and we have only one more to go. So that's going to do it for this look at the Super 7 Ultimates Michelangelo. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.